Ben,
Jacob,
how you doing?
good. How are you?
Baruch Hashem. I had
Baruch
an
Hashem.
excellent discussion with Rabbi Schneur Burton yesterday. Anybody who's watching this who hasn't watched that, I would highly recommend they go watch that.
Yes, I watched at least half of it. I haven't been able to finish it yet, but it's been great.
Yeah, actually, the most surprising stuff he said at the end.
Yeah. Okay. So tonight. Yeah, no, it was very interesting. I was listening. It was.
Yeah,
Yes.
he is willing. I mean, so for Rav Mora Hora'a, he is willing to speak about things much more clearly um, and frankly, I think it's a time when we need people who are willing to speak as clearly as he does. But
Right. I mean, yeah, he made the point. I mean, let's say there are things that are so much in the open in ways that haven't been before that it almost necessitates that
Yep.
kind of smart exposure, I guess. Call it.
Yep. Okay, chapter 6. I think you went last time, so I'll go this time.
Oh, sounds good.
Be'ur midat hazrizut, to explain this characteristic of being watchful. No, zehirut was watchfulness. Zrizut is quickness. How do you
Yeah, they say alacrity or zeal.
Zeal. Okay. Achar hazehirut yavo hazrizut. After watchfulness comes zeal.
Right.
Hazehirut sobev al lo ta'aseh, because being watchful is a matter of not doing. Hazrizut al ha'aseh, and zeal is on doing. V'hainu, like it says in Psalms, sur merav aseh tov, flee from evil and do good. Ve'inyano shel hazrizut mevoar, shehu hakdama lemitzvot ulahashlamat inyanam. And understanding this aspect of zeal is through clarifying that it is an introduction to the commandments and the completion and their completion.
Both in
doing
them and finishing them.
I guess. Chalashon hazeh amru zichrono livracha, and our sages said, Zrizim makdimim lemitzvot, that those who are zealous forefront are early to perform the mitzvot. V'zeh ki kamo shetzarich pikhut gadol v'hashkafa rabbah, since you have to have an open eye and far vision. Linatzel mimokshe hayetzer, to be saved from where your evil inclination would draw you. Ulehimalet minhara, and to be saved, again, a different way, from evil. Shelo yishlotu banu, that they would not control us. Lehitarev b'maasenu, to be mixed into that which we do. Ken tzarich pikhut gadol, person has to be very watchful. V'hashkafa lechoz, and have a vision to grasp onto b'mitzvot, the commandments, v'liskot bahem, and to merit to do them, v'lo ta'avadna mimenu, and that they should not be destroyed from us. We would not lose them. Ki kamo shemasavev u'mishtadel hayetzer hara betachbulotav, just like the evil inclination runs around and tries so hard in its ways, lahapil et ha'adam, to make a person fall, b'michmorot hachet. What's a michmorot?
Michmorot, it's probably an obstacle because there's a place in Israel called Michmoret.
Yeah, they're saying nets. They translate
Oh,
it.
okay, maybe it's a net. It's where it's on the beach. It's like a beach. It's a beach near
Bay?
where I used to grow up. It's a
Yeah.
very nice beach. But I guess I thought it was always referred to like a wave breaker. I don't know if that's what it's called in Hebrew, in English.
Lo yodea.
Anyway,
כן, משתדל למנוע ממנו, therefore someone who is trying to stay away from it, עשיית המצוות ולעבדם ממנו. No, similarly, it tries to keep us from doing the mitzvot and to keep them from us.
right.
ואם יתרפא ויתעצל ולא יתחזק לרדוף אחריהם, if a man becomes weak and is lazy, oilanu, and he does not strengthen himself to run after them, velitmoch bam, and to strengthen them, yishaer naur varek mehem bevadai, he will end up being shaken out and empty
Right.
of them clearly. ותראה כי טבע האדם כבד מאוד, and we see that a man's nature is very heavy. כי ופריאות החומריות גס, because the material of materiality, the what have they do it? Earthiness of materiality is very coarse. Al ken lo yachpot hadam betorach umalacha. So a person doesn't want to bother himself and to do work. Umi sherotzeh lizkot la'avodat haboreh yitbarach, and somebody who wants to merit to serve God, may he be blessed. Tzarich sheyitgaber neged tiv'o atzmo v'yitgaber v'yizdarez. So such a person has to strengthen himself against his very nature and to be stronger and himself and to be zealous.
I like wake up like a lion.
Yeah. שאם הוא מניח עצמו ביד כבדותו, that if he leaves himself to his heaviness, ודאי הוא שלא יצליח, it's very clear that he's not going to be successful. והוא מה שאמר התנא, and that is what the sage of the Mishnah said, הווה אז כנמר וקל כנשר ורץ כצבי וגיבור כארי לעשות רצון אביך שבשמיים. Like we say in our liturgy every morning, be bold like a lion and light like an eagle and fleet of foot like a deer and strong like a lion to do the will of your Father who is in heaven. And similarly, the rabbis, the sages said in Brachot, "B'dvarim hatzrichim chizuk, Torah u'masim tovim," about those things which require strength, which is Torah and doing good works. Umikra malehu, and it is clearly stated in a verse in Yehoshua is Hosea?
No, Yeshua is Joshua.
Joshua, okay. חזק ואמץ מאוד לשמור לעשות ככל התורה אשר ציווך משה עבדי. So strengthen yourself very much to keep those and to do according to everything that was commanded to you from my servant Moses. כי חיזוק גדול צריך למי שרוצה לכפות הטבע אל הפכו. Because there's a lot of strength that's necessary for a person who wishes to force his nature to its opposite. והנה, שלמה שנה מאוד באזהרתו על זה. And Solomon taught very much in his warnings regarding this. בראותו את רוע האצלה. Just in that he saw the evil that comes from being lazy. וההפסד גדול, and the great loss that it causes, הנמשך ממנה, that comes from it. ואמר, he said in Proverbs 6, מעט שנות, מעט תנומות, מעט חיבוק ידיים לשכב. Let's see what he says. A little sleep.
Don't take naps. Don't sleep too much. Don't just be a couch potato.
Yeah, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, then shall your poverty come as a traveler. תנומות מעט חיבוק ידיים לשכב, ובא כמהלך ראשך ומחסורך כאיש מגן. כי הנה, העצל אף על פי שאינו עושה רע בקום עשה. Right? That even though somebody who's lazy doesn't get up and do something bad, הנה הוא מביא את הרעה עליו בשב ואל תעשה שלו. He brings evil upon himself in that he sits and doesn't do things. Va'amar, and it says there, Gam mitrapeh b'malachto, someone who's weak in his work. Hu leba'al mashchit, he is a brother to the one who destroys. Ki af al pi she'eineno hamashchit ha'oseh et hara b'yadav, that even though he's not the person who actually destroys things with his hand, lo tachsho shehu rachok mimeno, don't think that it's something that's far away. Ela achivhu, he is his brother. Uven gilohu, and they are of the same age. Va'amar od leva'er ra'at ha'atzel be'ur tzi'uri, and he gives a vivid description of to explain how bad being lazy is. Ma sheyikre veyivaled le'einenu yom yom, with that which happens and is brought into being before our eyes every day. Al ste ish atzel avarti, I walked past the fields of a lazy man, ve'al kerem adam chasar lev, and past the orchard of a man who has no heart. Ve'hine ala kulo shonim kasu panav charulim. I have no idea how to translate that. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns and nettles that had covered the face of it, and its stone wall was broken down. Then I observed, I put my heart to it, I beheld, and I received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands, right? Like we said before. Anochi ashit libi, I set my heart. Ra'iti lakachti musar, I saw and I learned. Ma'at shenot, ma'at tenumot, v'gomer, uva mithalech reshecha. Right, like we said before. V'hine, milvad peshuto asher hu amiti. It's not just that this is true. Kemashma'o shehu ma shekore el ste ha'atzal mamash. This isn't just something that actually happens truly to the fields of someone who is lazy. Hine darshu bo chachamim zichronom bracha. our sages explained Midrash Na'eh, a beautiful analogy. Ze lashonam. This is what they said. V'hineh ala kulo kimshonim. It was all grown over with thorns. Shemavakesh perush shel parasha ve'eno motze refers to one who seeks the interpretation of a portion of the Torah and does not find it. Okay. Kasu panav, that it was covered over. Mitoch shelo amal bahem, since he did not work them. Hu yoshev umetameh et hatahor umetaher et hatameh. He sits and he makes mistakes where he says what is pure is impure and what is impure is pure, right? He says of right that is wrong and wrong that is right. Uporetz gedran shel talmidei chachamim, and he breaks the boundaries that the sages have set. Yes.
So is he referring to somebody that comes up with an idea of like, this is what this story, or this is what this portion, this is what this verse is about, or this is what I want it to be about? He doesn't really look for.
He's explaining that the sages took this particular verse and applied it to their own lives, to themselves, right? A person who's sitting and studying like the sages do, and who's paskening halachot, right? That he's making decisions, because he did not truly seek what he needed to seek. He makes a mistake. He says what is right is wrong and what is wrong is right, and he ends up passing over the edicts of the rabbis, etc., etc.
Okay.
Ma onsho shel zeh, and what is a punishment for such a person? Shlomo persho. So Solomon explains, uporetz gader yishkenu nachash, that a person who breaks through boundaries will be bitten by the snake, by the serpent. V'hainu, and that means kira'at ha'atzel eina ba bebat achat, that the bad things that happen to a lazy person don't happen all at once. Ela ma'at ma'at, but rather little by little. Below sheyada v'yagish ba, that he doesn't know and he doesn't feel it. Ki hineh hu nimshach mera'a el ra'a ad sheyimatzeh tavua betachlit hara'a, that he gets pulled along from bad thing to bad thing until he is found to be drowning in the worst of things. Hinei betachila eino ela mahsir hatorach, that at the beginning he just hasn't worked hard enough. Asher haya ra'ui lo, which he should have done. Umizeh nimshach shelo yilmad b'torah kechol hatzorah. Right? And from this, it comes that he hasn't learned the Torah like he should. Umipnei chesron halimud, and from not having learned, kesheyavo achar kach lilmod, that later when he does come to learn, tachsar lo hahavana, he then will lack the necessary understanding. Vehine ilule haita gomeret ra'ato bazeh. And if it's not enough that this would be the completion of the evil, kavar haita rabba, which already is bad enough. Ach od mitrapeh mitraba v'holechet b'meh sheberetzoto al kol panim leyeshev haparasha. Since he wants to then, at the very least, make some sense of what he is learning, v'perakahu, that particular chapter, he's going to come to give an explanation which is not according to the truth of the halacha, the Jewish law. And he's going to destroy the truth and turn it around. Gedarim, he's going to transgress against the edicts, and he's going to break through all of the fences. V'sofo kelayad kemishpat kol haporetz gader. And in the end, he's going to come to destruction, as is the fate of or the judgment of all who break boundaries.
So this is not just somebody that's being lazy, right? Oh, and it starts with somebody that is being lazy and learning, and then he still resolves to think, well, I guess I can figure it out on my own. I can create maybe a new understanding.
Yeah, and from not paying enough attention, he ends up doing horrible things as well.
It kind of reminds me when I was in middle school. I was very poor at math always, and I would miss a few classes, and then I would I would miss whatever trigonometry or whatever it was, the new thing that just came up.
Right.
Maybe it was in middle school, maybe it was even before, and I'd be like, okay, now I can't. Now I'm done. I can't. There's no way I can learn new things and also learn the things that I missed. Like, I'm already so far behind. It's hard. So it's not necessarily exponential, but it
builds upon itself.
Yeah.
And I have to say, Donnie was supposed to join us for this, but when he listens later, if he listens later, he should remember we were thinking of him. And I saw and I set my heart. התבוננתי על הדבר הזה. I thought about this matter. וראיתי גודל הרע שבו. I saw how bad it is. שהוא כארס ההולך ומתפשט מעט מעט. That it is like a venom which expands and מתפשט.
So it expands.
Yeah.
Moves
little by little.
Yeah.
ואין פעולתו ניכרת עד המיתה, and what it's doing cannot be recognized until death. וזהו מעט שנות. That's why it says little sleep. ובא כמהלך רשך, and that it's like a wandering thing.
Right, and this is what we covered last week when we talked about how worldly matters can affect your vigilance, right? If you're burdened by worrying about physical things or whatever those might be, it takes away from your intention and dedication to the values that you want to aspire to.
והנה, אנחנו רואים בעינינו כמה וכמה פעמים שכבר ליבו של האדם יודע חובתו ונתאמץ אצלו מה שראוי לו. And we've seen so many times how many people that in their heart they know what their obligation is, and it has become they are convicted of ra'ui lo hatzalat nafsho, what is required in order for his soul to be saved, uma shechova alav mitzad bor'o, and what is his obligation from his creator. Va'af al pi chen yanihehu, and still he runs away from it. Lo mechasron hakarat hachova, not because he doesn't recognize his obligation, hahi, velo lashum ta'am acher, not for a different reason, ela mipnei shekevedut ha'atzla mitgaberet alav, but rather because he's a lazy bum. V'harei hu omer. What?
Paraphrasing.
Yeah, well. והרי הוא אומר אוכל כמעה או אישן כמעה או קשה עליי לצאת מביתי, he says, I'll eat, I will eat a bit, or I will sleep a little. And
Kind of reminds me of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius too. He has like a chapter that he kind of goes through.
Okay. Or it's hard to get out of my house. Pashatiti et kutanati. I already took off my jacket. Eichachal bashena. I'm gonna put on my jacket now. Get dressed. Chama azab olam. It's hot outside. Hakara rabba or hagashamim, or it's cold outside, or it's rainy outside.
I just want to be cozy, with the rain, the sound.
Yeah. וכל שאר המטלאות והטוענות, and all the different excuses and
Complaints or
rationalizations. Asher pi ha'atzlim male mahem, that lazy person, his mouth is filled with them, right? Ubein kach, whether it's this or that, haTorah munachat, the Torah is left, regardless of what the reason is, v'havodah mevutelet, and the service has not been done, v'hadam ozev et boro, and the person leaves his creator. Hu masha Shlomo omer, and this is what Solomon says about Atzaltaim yimach hamekare ubishiflut yadayim yidlof habayit. That's let's see how they translate. By laziness the ceiling decays, and through lowering of the hands the house leaks.
Interesting. I remember I was in a class and they were talking about this, like a halachic matter,
Mm-hmm.
and how somebody, it was like a 2-floor apartment somewhere in a shtetl somewhere, and one Jew's apartment, the Jew at the bottom, the tenant at the bottom didn't really fix it. Like his whole ceiling collapsed, and the person on top, he had a bunch of valuables, and it collapsed with the ceiling, and it dropped, and everything got destroyed. So he was suing him in a Jewish court, in the local court. And I think one of the halachas there is that because the ceiling was so obviously decayed, that his laziness is what caused the matter, right? So sometimes you can't control it, right? Like if your ceiling just drops, you can't control what happens upstairs, because it's just, let's say, normal wear and tear. But if it's decayed, that you were just lazy and you didn't fix it, then you are actively responsible.
Rahman al-Islam. Ve'ulam in tish'al et pi ha'atzer. But if you're going to ask a lazy man, Yavo lacha b'ma'amarim rabim mima'amarei hachamim, he's going to give you many things that the wise men said, v'hamikraot min haketuvim, and things that happened in the books, v'hata'anot min hasechel, and all kinds of excuses from rationality, asher kulam yoru lo, that all of them say, lefi da'ato hameshubeshet, according to his embarrassing thinking, lahakel alav, to make it easy for himself, la'nicho ben menuchat atzluto, to leave him to the rest of his laziness. והוא איננו רואה שאין הטענות ההם והטעמים ההם נולדים לו מפני שיקול דעתו. That it's not because all of these things come because he's thought them through. אלא ממקור עצלותו הם נובעים, that they ultimately come from a source of his laziness. אשר בהיותה היא גוברת בו, that it is so strong in it. Mata da'ato v'sichlo el hata'anot ha'ele, right? That his mind is pulled towards such reasons. Asher lo yishma lekol hachachamim, that you wouldn't hear from the voice of the sages. V'anshe hadea hanechona, and people who really understand things. Hu ma sheshlomo tzoveach v'omer, and that which Solomon explains. Chacham atzel be'enav mishiv'a meshivei ta'am, that someone, the lazy man, is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men that answer sensibly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Ki ha'atzla einena minachat lo sheyeh afilu chash ledivrei hamochim loto, that his laziness doesn't even allow him to listen to those who rebuke him. Ela yachshov hakol letoim v'shot'im v'hu levado chacham, but rather he thinks that they're all idiots and making mistakes, and he alone is wise. V'hine teda ki ze klal gadol minusa b'melachet haprishut, and this is a great fundamental principle that has been tested in the work of asceticism. Shekol kula tzricha bedika, that every time you find an easy way out, you have to wonder. Ki af al pi sheyechola lihyot yeshara v'chocha, that even though it's possible that it's right and well said, amnam karov hadavar shetihye me'atzot hayetzer, that it's something that may come from the counsel of the evil inclination.
Right, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous for you to assume that it is correct for you to separate yourself from other people. So even though
I think here he means anytime you see that, like you think, it would, like, it's better if I don't go to Minyan today, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's better if I don't do this or if I don't do that. And you can give yourself all kinds of reasons, and it's possible that those are the correct reasons. But
Right.
because it is something that your evil inclination would give you advice towards, it's something that you should doubly be wary of.
Right. I think, though, that he might even more specifically talk about, like you mentioned, asceticism, because that is a trait that we'll talk about, right? And it's a trait that so you're saying it's a great principle in achieving that trait.
Yeah, he's speaking. I mean, this
Which
is
could
one
be
of the
positive.
few places where preshut is used in a positive manner.
Right. So even though it's positive, it's still, this is the thing that can very much pull you in the wrong direction. Where you say, well, this is good for my asceticism, right?
Well, no. He's saying that this is a klal of preshut. He's saying this is a principle of being an ascetic.
Mm-hmm.
That when you see something says, take the easier way,
Mm-hmm.
you double check it, because you automatically have a inclination towards that which is easier.
Right.
Okay. Umir motav, and its cunningness. כן צריך לבדוק אחריה בחקירות ודרישות רבות. Therefore, a person has to really check, is it true that this is the way it should be? אם אחר כל אלה תצדק, that if after all that it's true, ודאי שהיא טובה, fine, this is the right way. כללו של דבר, but the principle of the matter is, חיזוק גדול צריך האדם להתחזק, להתגבר בזריזות לעשות המצוות. That a person has to work very hard and to strengthen himself in zeal to do the commandments. Bahashlichod me'alav kovet ha'atzla hamahakevet al yado, to send to take off from himself the heaviness of laziness, which keeps him from doing what he should be doing. ותראה שהמלאכים נשתפכו במידה הטובה הזאת. And we see that the angels were praised in this manner. שנאמר בהם, that says in Psalms, גיבורי כוח עושה דברו לשמוע בכל דברו. That they are the strong ones of potential, of power, who do his word, to hear his voice when he speaks it. Ve'omer. And Ezekiel says, V'achayot ratzo v'shov b'kamar'eh habazak, that the heavenly creatures go back and forth like like lightning. V'hine adam hu adam v'lo malach, and a person is a person, but not an angel. Al ken efshar lo sheyagia legvurotod shel hamalach. It's not possible that he'll end up being like an angel. Ach vadai shekol ma sheyuchal lehitkarev b'madragat elav, that however he can become more angelic, ra'ui sheyitkarev, he should try it. David HaMelech haya meshabeach al chalko, and King David was grateful for what he had. And when he said in Psalms, Chashti velo hitmamati lishmor mitzvotecha, I felt and I did not hinder doing your commandments. Yeah.
Yeah. How are we on time?
We have 20 more minutes. I don't know. If we want to start chapter 7, or
we can try to summarize this chapter.
Okay.
Or talk about it. So I guess the first thing that he mentioned is that it's referring to, this is about avoiding something as opposed to doing.
No, this is about doing things as opposed to avoiding, right? So Zehirut, the previous characteristic that we spoke about, watchfulness, was about not doing things that you're not supposed to do.
Right.
But once you're already not doing things that you're not supposed to do, there are things which you are supposed to do.
Right. Okay.
And so this is to fight against your natural inclination towards heaviness and not working as hard as you should.
Mm-hmm.
You have to and this is something that we have to work hard upon. And we see that he specifically brings this image of a field where the lazy man does not plow. It's not enough that he doesn't even get the produce that he would have gotten if he had worked hard, but it gets filled with nettles, right? It ends up growing all kinds of weeds and things that he doesn't want.
Right.
And as he explains, the sages applied this to Torah learning, saying that you see that a person who doesn't learn, he also, because he hasn't learned, he ends up making mistakes. And it turns into Sam Hamavet, it turns into a venom which slowly destroys him.
Right. So it's interesting, I guess. So obviously there's the procrastination is what separates right? The lazy person from somebody who's is productive or actually moves fast towards something.
Mhm.
I guess, I mean, I'm seeing it in the summary here in this book, but it seems like the one thing that's missing is like this motivation, right? Which also reminds me of the Tanya. It talks about the beginning as well. It talks about the Reshfei Ish, Shalevet, right? It talks about this passion, these things that move you, right? Both the fear and the love. Because without them, right, it's
Yeah,
very hard to get up.
you have to awaken in yourself. Yeah, you have to awaken in yourself love and fear of God, so that it will actually get you to wake up
Right.
and be a good person.
Right, which also reminds me kind of like this the self-authoring, where it talks to you about a good future that you can aspire to, something to, whether it's a loved one
Yeah.
that you want to be with or anything like that, and the bad future, something that you don't want to wish upon even your worst enemy. And that fear and love is also things that will hopefully motivate you.
Yep. So how does it feel to be a father?
That can definitely motivate you to do certain things.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, I was thinking, when you have a child, I mean, that's what you reminded me of, right? Like when you don't have children, okay. I mean, even with my pets, right?
mhm,
It's like, well, I mean, I don't have so much food in the house. I should go shopping.
mhm.
I'll eat something here, something there, right? But when Happy's food runs out, I have to go buy her food.
Right.
It's like, right?
Yeah, nobody else is gonna do it. Like, yeah, it's like
Yeah,
when you tend for something, you have a responsibility for it that cannot be.
yeah. The and so yeah, that's one of the rules that Jordan Peterson has, and it really does work. Um, which is see yourself as someone you're responsible for taking care of, because
Right.
once you have obligations, you see your obligations, and this is part of what he says also, to see the chiyuv that you have mitzad boro, right, towards your creator, that to keep you from saying it's rainy or it's cold or it's warm or it's whatever.
Right. I guess that's why maybe makes sense to think of whether it's your body or your body is something that you loan, that you borrow, right? Or is
Yeah.
the soul is something that is part of something else?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Elokai
It makes
neshama
you think,
shenatata bi tehorahi ata barata ata yitzarta
right? So it makes you kind
venafachta
of
bi.
like think of yourself from a different perspective and say, well, okay, I really need to treat whatever it is that I was given, right? Is like a responsibility over it.
It's true. It's true. Yep.
And
I think that's about it. Yeah. I don't know if there are many people watching. There are 3 people watching apparently.
it's good.
Yeah. So
So you're saying
Fraudwith
all
is
the
always with us. I don't know anybody else.
so you're saying all the juicy stuff is at the end with the Rabbi Burton.
So I actually made a clip, 7.5 minute, almost 8 minute clip
No,
about
I
what
won't be lazy. I'll listen to the whole thing. I'm already halfway through.
about what he says about Christianity. Um, I, I, I was wondering if I maybe cut. I mean, it's already 8 minutes almost, but
Mhm.
was wondering if I maybe cut too much of the context out because people might misunderstand. because he was specifically talking about Gentiles. And he says that he didn't, in principle, see any problem if a Gentile thought Jesus would come back to be the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing I worried about in terms of cutting the. It's an 8-minute clip. What can I mean, how much longer can I make it?
Right.
But yeah, I worried a tiny bit that maybe people might misunderstand. But if they're already going to misunderstand an 8-minute clip, they should go listen to the whole 2 hours. What can I tell you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
Nope. I thought the discussion of secrets was illuminating. Yeah. Yeah, we saved most of the good stuff for the end.
For secrets, I mean, you were talking about. I don't know if he was referring to. You were talking about Molin Nevuchim too, and like saying that was
I mean, it was a big question when it comes down to it. What exactly? Because I mean, when you talk pedagogically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are different things that different people understand and different people don't understand, right? One of the things he mentioned was, sometimes when you explain something that, let's say somebody is one of these fundamentalist Baptists who believes that the earth was created exactly in 24-hour days,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's kipshuto in every way, in ways that really, honestly, I mean, it becomes a pashtut that is almost heretical, really, in Judaism, right? But if you were to take that away from him, right, and
Mm-hmm.
not, and he doesn't have a deeper understanding of like, I start talking about Omphalos and da 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 da, right, and doesn't make any sense to him, then you're harming this person, because you're taking away even that simple misunderstanding that he has, which brings him closer to the actual truth.
Right.
And each person has a certain capacity to understand that. And I mean, this was one of the things we talked about, but like, I tell parents, learn Piaget's stages of development. There's a very interesting video where they talk to little kids and they ask them questions.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how the little kid just doesn't get it, right? And it's like, okay, that this is a stage of development, of neurological development, right? And you get parents who try to teach their kids things that they neurologically can't understand, and they try and they try and they try, and eventually the kid, a few years later, gets it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and suddenly the parents like, it was hard for me to do it, and it's like, my dear brother, you didn't need to work so hard. You could have just accepted that this is not a capacity that your child has for a few years.
Right. And maybe for some reason, especially when you talked about the first example, the phrase Evan, I can't remember it. Evan Pina.
Evan Matsu Haponim
Mm-hmm.
Haitel Rosh Pina. We didn't discuss that, but yeah. What about that verse?
Well, you mentioned how somebody can have an erroneous understanding, erroneous, just like that word. I can have an erroneous way of saying that word.
Yeah.
But so you might think, okay, let's just remove it because it's bad for that person, right? Well, what you're saying is that you can remove it without completely dislodging the whole edifice. And actually, if you correct it or use it to actually direct that person towards something better, it can be a good foundation, right?
Right. I mean, and ultimately, I mean, it goes back to our discussion of the Parasha Mishnayot of Maimonides, his commentary on the Mishnah. In his introduction to chapter 10 of Sanhedrin, Perek Chalek, right? He gives a little allegory to what it's like to teach a child, right? But
Right.
you're not going to teach a child about that allegory to teach a child because he's not going to get it. And so, despite the fact that allegory is considered so fundamental to really understanding Judaism, it's not an allegory we teach publicly very often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Unless there's anything else, I think we might call this a good learning session we had. Next week, we will start on chapter 7, Be'ur Chalkei Hazirizut, explaining the parts, the divisions of Zir.
Good.
Okay.